So it's exactly 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on July the 2nd, and we are 2 hours away from the premiere of Beverly Hills Cop Axel F on Netflix. 2 hours away from something I've been waiting for 30 years. I'm so excited. It's a fucking hot-ass evening. 107 degrees here today where I live, but still got my Mumford shirt on, Mumford Phys Ed shirt, and I'm just so excited for this film to drop, and can't believe all this time I've been waiting for this film, and it's 2 hours away.
With a weather advisory in effect, so unless you're headed to the Red Wings game, stay the hell off my roads. Now back to the music on WJLB.
BoogeyMan band coming round the bend. Is BoogeyMan band. Is BoogeyMan band.
Greetings, my fellow fried fiends, and thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is going to be the last video in my celebration of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. And if you guys have watched the videos that I've done, you can tell that Axel Foley and Eddie Murphy and everybody involved in these films really mean a lot to me. And it was a real magical time growing up with these characters. The last film, Beverly Hills Cop 3, came out in 1994 when I was 20 years old. And since that time, I had always been hoping that we would get a fourth film. I had no idea at that time that it would take 30 years. It would take 3 decades for this film to come out. It was officially announced in 2019 that the film would be made after a lot of false starts for many, many years. But in 2019, it was announced that the movie would go into production after Coming to America, which was a sequel to the 1988 blockbuster that Eddie Murphy starred in, directed by John Landis. Now, to be up front right away, I was not a fan of that sequel. That came out in 2021. It was an Amazon movie. I absolutely hated it. And I don't like to talk negatively, especially about someone that I admire so much, that being Eddie Murphy, but the sequel to Coming to America was a train wreck. And it's something I've never talked about before, but I just remember how disappointed I was in that film. And it was a film that I really didn't think needed to be made, but the fact that I knew that Beverly Hills Cop was going to come after it, seeing how bad it was, really made me nervous about what the fourth film could be, if it was going to be very much like that, in that vein, more of a family-ish kind of film and not the hardcore R-rated film that we had known from this series. And yeah, I was very, very nervous. Then, of course, in late summer of 2022, I did a video on this channel talking about the fact that it was in production. There was images of Eddie Murphy and Bronson Pinchot and Judge Reinhold and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and John Ashton. So it was really exciting that this was actually going to finally be happening. And last night, or this morning at midnight on July 3rd, this is when I'm recording this, July 3rd at midnight, I watched the fourth Beverly Hills Cop film, of course not in a movie theater because it is a Netflix exclusive movie. And it was a very, very emotional experience for me. My wife stayed up with me to watch it. We watched it, you know, it's almost 2 hours long, and then you know what I did after? I watched it again. Really excited to share my thoughts on this film. But first I want to talk about the plot and give a little background to all that went into making this fourth film after the kind of negative reception that Beverly Hills Cop 3 received 30 years ago. So the plot for Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, the fourth film in the franchise, deals with Axel Foley returning to Beverly Hills after his daughter Jane's life is threatened. She and Axel team up with her ex-boyfriend and old pals John Taggart and Billy Rosewood to uncover a conspiracy. The movie stars Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Detective Bobby Abbott, Taylor Page as Jane Saunders, Judge Reinhold as Billy Rosewood, John Ashton as Chief John Taggart, Paul Reiser as Deputy Chief Jeffrey Friedman, Bronson Pinchot as Surge, and Kevin Bacon as Captain Cade Grant. The story for this was written by Will Beal, who also contributed to the screenplay alongside Tom Gormican and Kevin Etten. Of course, based on the characters created by Danilo Bach and Daniel Petrie Jr., and the movie was directed by Mark Malloy. A fourth entry in the series was initially announced for the release in the mid-90s under the production of Eddie Murphy's production company, Eddie Murphy Productions. In June of 2001, it was announced that Jason Reitman had been hired to write a treatment for Beverly Hills Cop 4 after executives were impressed with his rewrites on Bad Company. The film was re-announced in 2006 when producer Jerry Bruckheimer announced his intention to resurrect the film series, though he eventually gave up his option to produce the film, passing production duties to Lorenzo di Bonaventura. In September of 2006, a script, which was an amalgamation of several earlier drafts, was presented to Murphy, who was reported to be very happy with the outline. Described as an attempt to recapture the feel of the original, Murphy admitted one of the motivations for making a fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie was to make up for the fact that the third film was horrible and he didn't want to leave the series like that. In May of 2008, Rush Hour director Brett Ratner was officially named director, promising the film would return under the series' standard R ratings rather than a rumored watered-down PG-13. In July of 2008, Michael Brandt and Derek Haas were hired as screenwriters to improve on the existing script and complete a new script under the working title Beverly Hills Cop 2009, which would see Foley return to Beverly Hills to investigate the murder of his friend Billy Rosewood. In October of 2011, Murphy discussed a possible fourth film, stating, "They're not doing it. What I'm trying to do now is produce a TV show starring Axel Foley's son, and Axel is the chief of police now in Detroit. I do the pilot, show up here and there. None of the movie scripts were right. It was trying to force the premise. If you have to force something, you shouldn't be doing it. It was always a rehash of the old thing. It was always wrong." In late summer of 2013, after CBS decided to pass on the TV series, Paramount decided to move forward with the fourth film. On September 13th of 2013, Jerry Bruckheimer stated he was again in talks to produce. On December 6th of 2013, it was again announced that Eddie Murphy would reprise his role as Axel Foley and Brett Ratner would direct. Murphy was paid $15 million for his involvement. On October 1st of 2019, in an interview with Collider, Murphy announced that principal photography will begin after the filming of Coming to America. On November 14th of 2019, Deadline Hollywood announced that Paramount Pictures made a one-time license deal with an option for a sequel with Netflix to develop the film. In May in 2020, after delays in filming business caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, RB and Falah confirmed they were still attached as co-directors and that a new screenwriter was working on a new script for the film. In April of 2022, RB and Falah left the film to focus on Batgirl prior to its cancellation, with Mark Malloy hired to replace them. So yeah, it's pretty crazy to read about how long it took to get where we are now. And yes, I would have loved to have seen this film in the theater. I really think it should have been given the same treatment that Bad Boys Ride or Die was given. I know for a lot of people they might find issues with the film, but for me, you know, growing up with this character and the characters in this film series and these films in general, it was a gift because it was something that I never thought was going to happen. I had such a blast just from the opening shot. As soon as it's established Axel, from that moment, I could see the glint in his eye, and he was Axel Foley again. And this film was just a complete gift to me as a fan of the franchise. It hit everything I needed it to be. I love the callbacks to music from the original films. I love the fact that we got to see a lot of characters that we haven't seen in these roles in almost 40 years. I mean, the last time that Paul Reiser played Jeffrey and the last time John Ashton played Taggart was in Beverly Hills Cop 2. That came out in 87. I never thought I'd see these guys play these parts again. And just where each of these characters are at this stage of their life it worked for me. And I love the action. The action was so, refreshing. It wasn't a bunch of CGI. It was actual practical effects and a lot of great car chases and shootouts, and loved Kevin Bacon in it, fan of him. Also, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was awesome as Bobby Abbott. I loved him, and his interaction with Axel Foley was just fantastic. Him and Eddie Murphy really had great chemistry in the scenes that they're in together, and they make up a lot of the bulk of the film in terms of their times together. I mean, it worked. It was so fluid. I did at first, it took me a while to warm up to Taylor Page's Jane Saunders, who is Axel Foley's estranged daughter. Pretty much the reason why he goes back to Beverly Hills, because her life is in danger. She was just very, and again, watching it a second time, it actually worked better for me. She was just very one note for a lot of it. But again, understanding where she is at this course of her life, understanding the fact that she thinks that her father has just his focus has always been on his job and not on being a parent. That was a very big theme in this movie. So we do see a more paternal side of Axel Foley than we've seen in the other 3 films, because of course he's an older man now. He's had a relationship that didn't work out. He has a child from said relationship, and that is estranged. But again, as the film goes, I warmed up to her character more. But for me, it's like the best parts of this film are just seeing the old crew back. It's like, I love John Taggart. I love that character. I love John Ashton. I hated that he wasn't in part 3. Hector Elizondo was cool as John Flint. He was okay. Love that actor. John Ashton and Judge Reinhold and Eddie Murphy together, that is the heart of this franchise for me. And to have moments in this, not a ton of them, but to have moments in this film where they are together, just that made me so happy. And again, it was fluid. It worked. Nothing felt convoluted to me. The music also I want to talk about is Lauren Balfe's score, taking elements of the original scores by Harold Faltermeyer, primarily from the first 2 films. There's not a lot from Nile Rodgers' score for part 3, but there's elements of the scores from the first 2 films that I just loved hearing them peppered in throughout. I also thought that Mark Malloy, for it being his first big movie, did a terrific job. There's a lot of homages to Tony Scott, the late great Tony Scott, and what he brought to Beverly Hills Cop 2, as well as the great Martin Brest and what he did with the first film. There's a great balance to the tones of both of those directors. And I just, like I said, I don't want to spoil a lot for people, but it was the quickest 2-hour movie I've watched. It's my favorite film of the year. It really just, these characters are more to me than just they just mean more to me than maybe some people that are growing up now, because things were just so much different when I was a little kid. So that's why characters like Marty McFly from Back to the Future or Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop are more than just their icon. They're iconic symbols. They're representations of a time that doesn't exist anymore. Even though those actors are still with us, those characters represent, for me, a much simpler and bygone era that doesn't exist anymore. I feel like now we're so bombarded with information and everything seems like so depressing. It was just nice to sit down and watch a movie for 2 hours and be taken back to a time that just was simpler. Even though this movie is set now, these characters have been with me since I was 10 years old, and revisiting them was like revisiting old friends. It really made me happy. I never thought it was going to happen. I really wish it would have been on the big screen, but I'm grateful that it got made. They are talking about a Beverly Hills Cop 5. Personally, I'm not holding my breath on it. It took 30 years for this movie to come out, and I'm just grateful that we got this one. If we get a part 5 and it's done by the same creative team that brought this, I mean, the fact that they got Jerry Bruckheimer to produce them, I will be there on day one. I will champion it with every ounce of my being. But I'm just grateful that this gift landed in my lap in a year that I have really just struggled. Really had a hard year this year. It has not been a great year. Emotionally, mentally, I have just felt taxed with all the shit that's gone on with my job and my house, and some personal shit and some things that just haven't worked out that I really don't want to talk about right now. But I needed this. I really needed this movie. And I love Eddie Murphy. I hope one day I get to meet him. It would be an honor. And he's meant a lot to me in my life, just like Chevy Chase has. There's a lot of these guys that they were my friends growing up because I was a latchkey kid. I was home a lot. And these movies, these characters, they were my friends. And I know there's a lot of reviews on this film online right now, but this is coming from a fan. This is coming from a fan of these characters of this film series and everybody that made them. I'm grateful. And I love all 4 films, even part 3, which people seem to shit on. I'm kind of getting tired of people shitting on part 3 because I still really do enjoy it and love going back and watching it. It's my least favorite of the 4, but I still love it. And I don't think I could do a ranking on these. I love all of them. I was smiling ear to ear through the entire thing. It was great. And everything, all of the elements came together for me. I don't have anything to bitch about. It was perfect. Thank you for it. And one last thing, something I meant to talk about, and I'm just going to close it with this. So the whole banana in the tailpipe thing. Now, there was an interview where they said originally it was going to be a potato in the tailpipe. Now, back in 1998, I worked at a diner. It was I don't want to give the name, but there was this head chef and this prep cook. The head chef, I don't give a shit. His name was Vaughn, and he was an alcoholic. And my girlfriend at the time was doing a performance. There was a performance showcase going on at Contra Costa College, which was really kind of close to where I worked. And I was late. I was trying to go, and I had changed my clothes and was getting ready to go. And I don't know if people remember from in the 90s where they had detachable faceplates for car stereos. So if you took the plate off, there was really nothing for people to steal. So I had that in my back pocket, and Vaughn took it out of my back pocket and hid it from me. And it pissed me off. And there's a little reason to why it pissed me off that I don't need to go into, but he hid it from me. It took me a while to find it. When I finally found it, I was so angry at him that I took a chicken apple sausage out of the freezer and I shoved it into the tailpipe of his motorcycle. And Sam, who was one of the owners of the business, or one of the contributors to the business, told me that he couldn't start his motorcycle, and that it took him, I guess he had to really like gun it, really start it. I don't think it was a key. I think it was when you kick-started to get that chicken apple sausage to blow across the parking lot out of his tailpipe. I really wish I could have been there to see that, but yeah, I think about that, and I hadn't thought about it in a long time. I mean, I thought he was going to kick my ass after he did it, or trash my truck. Nothing ever happened. I ended up getting another job, and he ended up getting fired from that job. So it all worked out in the end, but yeah, he was an asshole. So it's I would have never known to do that if it wouldn't have been for the Beverly Hills Cop films. So didn't use a banana because it was too small, but the chicken apple sausage fit in that tailpipe just perfect when I did that. So anyway, that's what I'm going to leave it at. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. Thank you so much for supporting me doing non-horror stuff. There is going to be more horror content coming out of this channel now. I got some stuff I'm working on, some comic book reviews. I'm going to be doing my Quiet Place Day 1 spooky screenings, because I saw that last weekend. I will be seeing Maxine, and I will be seeing Long Legs. So all of those will be spooky screening videos I will be doing. I hope everyone looks forward to that, and I want to thank you guys again, and I will talk to you again real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Peace. Hey, my fellow Fright Fiends, I just want to thank everyone for supporting BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone. If you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to, please hit the subscribe button down below. Click the bell notification so you're updated every time I drop a new video. I try to drop a video at least once or twice a week. The Horror Zone is a passion of mine, and it really makes me happy that I can share that passion with all of you guys. Thanks so much again for the support, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always.